Oh, I didn't see you there. Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the Apostate Prophet. For those who are asking what the song is called, it's the most famous song on the planet. How is everybody doing? I hope everybody is having a fantastic day. Kairon said, Hi, AP, wie geht's? Good, wie geht's dir? That was a language from a different planet, which nobody can ever figure out. So today we are on day, I don't know, it's the 1st of November, and it's been weeks since this war started. I have no idea how long it's been. I guess a few weeks. I'm not sure. Um, and today we again have some very interesting, very amazing, very brilliant news. While the world is asking for, lots of people around the world are asking for a ceasefire from Israel. They're saying Israel should immediately stop fighting. There should be a ceasefire right now, immediately. Hamas has a different plan. And somehow, the people who are on Hamas's side and the people who are neutral in this, or the people who just do whatever is in fashion right now, which is true for a lot of people out there, don't seem to pay attention to what Hamas says and what Hamas wants. Because they don't ask Hamas to surrender, they don't ask Hamas to stop, they don't ask Hamas to do anything. Although Hamas is one of the two sides in this current war and is in charge of Gaza. Yes, Hamas is the government in Gaza. And Hamas said some very interesting words in response to calls for a ceasefire, in response to, concerns that civilians are dying. And I put it in the title and even on the thumbnail. And I wanted to get to it right now. In short, Hamas just said that they are proud of people dying under their own watch. So basically, they said,
We're proud of that.
yeah, that's basically what they said. Let's look into that right now. This is MEMRI, which is Middle East Media Research Institute. Lots of people probably know about MEMRI. Many people probably know about MEMRI because of memes of dumb things that people say in the Middle East, and that is then translated into English with these captions and screenshots and put on social media in forms of memes. But they provide accurate translations right now of stuff that the world needs to see. Unfortunately, the world doesn't see most of what they put out because the world is focused on whatever they see on, whatever people cry about the most. This does not make as big headlines as it should make. Let's see who said what. Who said what? Welcome to the AP family, Vince P. Yeah, Vince B, not P. Do you like Geert Wilders? Somewhat, yeah. Yes. Yes. I mean, I agree with much of the stuff, although, yeah, I don't know. I do. In a limited way. Marina said, do you support the Palestinian people themselves, not Hamas, of course? I don't know. It depends on what you mean by support. Do I support their right to exist? Yes, I do. Do I support I don't know. Palestinians themselves don't know what exactly they're asking for, what exactly they're supporting. It's hard for me to support um, people who don't exactly make clear what they're supporting, who are conflicted on what they're supporting, and who have some really, really problematic views and goals, such as this here. I brought this up early this morning when somebody asked me about the plight of Palestinians. It's hard for people like me and for other people to just sympathize and show support for the very people who in times of peace, when they are not being targeted, have really, really, really bad views about the rest of us, about me. If somebody in times of peace believes in fighting me and killing me, for example, why would I have sympathy for them when they are being targeted and when they are facing the consequences of what their leaders and what they are doing? I know it may sound harsh to somebody who's completely unaffected by any of this, but so here is from the Washington Institute in collaboration with a Palestinian research center that is actually based in the Palestinian territories, that is based in Ramallah. This is from a research. It says Gazan views on Palestinian political organizations and armed groups. I know the text is small to see. I will zoom in when necessary. The dark blue is very positive. The light blue is somewhat positive. The light red is somewhat negative. The dark red is very negative. The orangish thing is don't know or refuse to answer. And this is how Gazans support each group. You can see here that according to this poll, 38 plus 20%, so 58% support Hamas, while 25% say somewhat negative, 15% say very negative. 31% and 33% very and somewhat positive. They think about Fatah, which is the West Bank organization. It gets worse. Hamas are not the only bad ones. PIJ, not PIG, which is the Palestinian Islamic Jihad organization, one of the two hardcore Islamist organizations, one of the few hardcore Islamist organizations. Their support lies at 30% plus 41%, 71%. 71% of Gazans who are asked have a favorable view and support Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Then we have another group, which is the Lion's Den, which is also a very terroristic-ish group, a terroristic group. I mean, there's nothing around that. No way of going around it. They also have a support of 34 plus 40%, so 74%. And finally, the Nasser Salahuddin brigades, which is Islamic, and also another Islamic fundamentalist group that commits terrorist attacks. They have a support base of 20% plus 41%, so very positive 20%, somewhat positive 41%, and the minority is negative. These are terrorist organizations, and you see most Gazans supporting them. Now, it's very hard to look at this and to then say, oh, they are uninvolved, they are innocent, they are, they didn't choose on any of this, they are under Israeli control. How is this their fault? It's very hard to say any of this. Next, opinions of Jews. And this is actually a very interesting graph. Egypt, 2% view Jews favorably, 95% unfavorably. Jordan, 3% favorably, 97% unfavorably. Lebanon, 2% favorably, 98% unfavorably. Here in this case, interestingly, even Christians view Jews unfavorably quite often. But although I think this is from like 10 years ago or 15 years ago or something. And Lebanon is quite complicated. Lebanon has had a very long conflict with Israel, and I'm pretty sure this was close to war times. Palestinian territory, 3% favorably, 97% unfavorably. Turkey, 60, 73%. It's funny because in Turkey, I heard nothing but hate for Jews, and apparently Turkey is quite moderate compared to these regions. Indonesia, 10, 74, Pakistan, 5, 78. But what's very interesting about all of this is this part. Israel. Look at Israel. Israel has 88% view Jews favorably, 11% unfavorably. In Israel, when Jews are asked how they view Jews, which is funny, 94% say favorably, 6% said unfavorably. And here's what's very important. In Israel, Arabs, when asked, 56% say they have a favorable opinion of Jews. In Israel, Arabs, 56% have a favorable view of Jews. 35% have an unfavorable view of Jews. Do you see what's happening here? In the Palestinian territories, 97% dislike Jews and only 3% like Jews. But Arabs in Israel mostly have a positive view of Jews. And 35% say they don't like Jews. Doesn't this look like those Arabs who are actually inside Israel, who actually live among the Jewish people, don't really share that whole hate for Jews? They seem to be mostly cool with Jews, and they have no obligations in any of this. They are answering anonymous polls here, right? People who actually live among them, who actually live in Israel, view them favorably, mostly, but not in the Palestinian territories. There it is, 3-97. This speaks volumes, many, many volumes, many different volumes, many such cases. Moving on, one more graph. I showed this several times before, but here is a question, again, from the Washington Institute and the Palestinian Opinion Research Institute. It says, if Palestinian leadership is able to negotiate a two-state solution with Israel, do you think that this should be the end of the conflict, or that resistance should continue until all of historic Palestine is liberated, meaning Israel is entirely destroyed, annihilated? You can see here the latest response in 2020. This is the West Bank. These are West Bank respondents. In 2020, 62% of respondents in the West Bank say resistance should continue until all of historic Palestine is liberated. So the majority of respondents in the West Bank, not even Gaza, in the West Bank, say even if we reach a two-state solution, we should fight until we have all of it and there is no Israel anymore. Only 26% say, well, that should be the end of it. We'll be fine with a two-state solution. Let's see if the source is on here. The Washington Institute and PCPO, which is a Palestinian organization, polled June 20-something, February 2020. I will later on, I didn't even plan on showing these things right here. I was going to go into something completely different. This just came up because somebody asked the question. But I am going to put the links to these into the description after I'm done. I can't do that at the moment, but I'll do that after I'm done with the stream. And in Gaza, 58% say fight until all of it belongs to us. 3% have no answer. 40% actually say this should be the end. Let's just end. Let's just end. Let's have a two-state solution and be done with it. But this is also funny. Yes, you have a majority here in Gaza, 58%, but Gaza is supposed to be the extreme side. West Bank is supposed to be the non-extreme side. And in the West Bank, significantly more people or significantly fewer people say we would be okay with a two-state solution, and more people say we should fight until Israel is gone and all of the land is ours. These are the realities that when you bring these things up, people often don't respond. And finally, one thing that concerns me as an apostate, as somebody who has left Islam, this is from a Pew poll from quite a while ago. I think this is from 2013, where people are asked if Sharia should be the law of the country. In this case, it was Palestinians say 89% of Palestinians say it should be the law of the country. And among those who are asked, 66% here, Palestinian territory, 66% say death penalty for leaving Islam should be applied. Among Muslims who say Sharia should be the law of the land, the percent who favor the death penalty for converts, so for people who leave Islam, in Palestinian territories is 66%. I'm sorry, but this is the truth. This is the reality. You can now, in the middle of the war, which I'm sorry, but people asked for and people cheered for, in the middle of the war, you can turn to me and say, "Well, look at this. Why are you not standing up for the Palestinian people and their cause?" Why would I do that when in peace times they stand up for my death? I'm sorry, but this is how it is. This is the reality. It's very easy to cry and it's very easy to ask for empathy and for all of that when you see people suffering. And I feel the same. I see people dying and I feel disgust. I feel sad at it. I feel horrible about it. I don't take pleasure in any of it. But why am I, who is condemned to death at any other time, expected to somehow here give my support and show sympathy? I can't deny the truths. I can deny the fact that the Palestinian population themselves support the conflict, that they mostly think Israel should be gone, that they mostly believe in eventually eradicating Israel, that they mostly dislike other groups, that they mostly believe people who leave Islam should be executed, and so on. Let's not even come to homosexuals, to gay people. And that's just a completely different aspect of it, where it's ridiculous that leftist LGBT groups in the West are like, free Palestine, free Palestine. Over 90% of Palestinians think it is disgusting, and most of them support punishments for gay people. Anyway, the actual topic that I wanted to come to here today is what Hamas said. Hamas official Ghazi Hamad makes an announcement. In response to everything that is going on, in response to the war that was declared by Israel after the October 7th attacks, people have been grilling Hamas and saying, how do you respond to, attacking civilians? And are you not worried that civilians are dying under your watch? Here is what the Hamas spokesperson has to say about that.
إسرائيل دولة لا مقام لها على.
Let's quickly. What in the world is going on? This player is messing with my mouse here. So this is Ghazi Hamad, Hamas Political Bureau, an interview from October 24th on the Lebanese TV, LBC TV.
إسرائيل دولة لا مقام لها على أرضنا.
He says Israel is a country that has no place on our land. I'm reading it because I know some people are only listening. They can't look at their screens. So I'm reading what they say. Israel is a country that has no place on our land.
إحنا الدولة لابد أن نزيلها.
We must remove that country.
لأنه بالفعل هي تعتبر كارثة.
Because it constitutes a security, military, and political catastrophe.
أمنية وعسكرية وسياسية للأمة العربية والإسلامية.
The Arab land and to the Arab and Islamic nation, which means the collective of them, and must be finished. So this guy says Israel must be removed. It has no place here. And yes, for those wondering about that ugly thing on his forehead, that's a mark that they put on there because they want to appear pious by praying and rubbing their heads on the ground as much as possible.
يجب أن تنتهي. لذلك إحنا لا نخجل من نقول.
He says we are not ashamed to say this with full force.
قل ذلك بكل قوة إنه إسرائيل لازم نأدبها وحنأدبها.
We must teach Israel a lesson, and we will do this again and again. He is referring to the attacks on October 7th.
مرة ثانية وثالثة.
You will see.
ومش هذا حتكون طوفان.
The Al-Aqsa flood, which is the Hamas name to the October 7th attacks. This is the name that they gave to the attacks, where they attacked the civilians in Israel and caused a massacre and killed over 1,000 civilians. He says the Al-Aqsa flood is just the first time, and there will be a second, a third, a fourth. So he says they will continue to do this again and again.
الأقصى أول مرة لا حتكون ثاني وثالث ورابعة لأنه إحنا لدينا إصرار ولدينا قرار.
because we have the determination, the resolve, and the capabilities to fight. So while the world is saying Gaza is in a very poor situation, they have nothing to, they can't, they can't survive, they have no means to live, and this and that, Hamas, which is the actual government in charge of the very population which people are calling attention to, says we have the means to continue fighting forever and do this over and over and over again. Instead of taking care of their own population, they want to do this over and over and over again.
ولدينا إمكانيات أن نقاتل ونحارب لكن كما قلت لك بدنا ندفع.
He says, well, we have to pay a price. Yes, and we are ready to pay it. He's speaking for the people of Gaza.
ثمن. نعم احنا مستعدين. معلش بدي أقول لك بشكل واضح.
We are called a nation of martyrs, and we are proud to sacrifice martyrs. Pay attention to what he's saying here. What he means by this is our people are dying, yes, and we are aware of that, and we are proud of that. We are a nation of martyrs, and we are proud to sacrifice our martyrs, our own people, our own population, on this path of eradicating Israel, and we will do this over and over again. He says we're proud of that.
We're proud of that.
تفضل. احنا اسمنا شعب الشهداء ونفخر ان نقدم شهداء. احنا لا نريد ان نمس لا بالمدنيين ولا ان نلحق.
He says we did not want to harm civilians. Yeah, sure, bro, sure.
الأذى بهم. لكن أوقات لأنه في تعقيدات في
But there were complications on the ground. This is, by the way, a lie. He has to at least mix a lie here into it. He's talking to Lebanese TV, and this is a lie. They actually obtained and displayed written documents and maps on the Hamas terrorists into civilian communities with the aim of going there and causing massacres, of attacking. It was an organized, deliberate attack on civilians. You have teams of actual Hamas fighters that started pouring into the villages and shooting people randomly.
ميدان صارت في منطقة موجودة وكان هناك.
He says there was a party in the area with population.
في احتفال وكان في سكان وفي منطقة واسعة ليست.
It was a large area across 40 kilometers.
سهل على امتداد تقريبا 40 كيلومتر.
So he's making excuses here for killing civilians and talking of complications. One of the places that were directly attacked at first was the rave, the music festival. And that is not in the middle of anything. It is a civilian festival, an event where civilians were partying. And these guys directly attacked the festival, and they killed people there indiscriminately. People who were fleeing from there, people who were partying, they started shooting at them, and so on. We have now around 260 or 270 dead bodies from that rave alone. And this guy is saying there were complications, And then they attacked the kibbutz, several of them. They attacked the communities, the villages. That's not a complication. That's not a fight with the IDF where they accidentally land inside villages and accidentally begin shooting into homes, of which we have videos. And I shared them so many times. Anyway, he says the occupation must come to an end.
أن ينتهي وين؟ بقطاع غزة؟
Occupation where? The Gaza Strip, she asks.
لا بتكلم عن كل أراضي فلسطين.
He says, no, I'm talking about all the Palestinian land. There you have it. He's talking about all the Palestinian land, by which he means, according to their own papers all the time, the entirety of the historic Palestine, as they call it, which would be the current Palestinian territories and Israel, all of it. So the existence of Israel to him is an occupation.
فلسطين.
كل الأراضي الفلسطينية يعني.
She asks, does that mean the annihilation of Israel?
زوال إسرائيل؟
طبعا.
He says, yes, of course. There you have it. She clearly asks the annihilation of Israel, and he says, yes.
وجود إسرائيل غير منطقي.
The existence of Israel is illogical, he says.
وجود إسرائيل هو اللي بخلق كل هذه الآلام والعذابات.
He says the existence of Israel is what causes all that pain, blood, and tears.
العذابات والدموع والدماء هي إسرائيل مش إحنا.
It is Israel, not us. We are the victims of the occupation. Period.
احنا ضحية الاحتلال. نقطة واخر السطر. لذلك ما حدا يلومنا احنا شو اللي
And then says, therefore, nobody should blame us for the things we do.
بنعمله. في 7 أكتوبر في
And here, pay attention to this. He says, nobody should blame us for what we do. It is Israel's fault. And here he says, October 7, October 10, October 1 million. Everything we do is justified. You don't have to think very far to understand what he's saying here. He's saying whether it is the terrorist attacks on October 7, whether it is something on October 10, whether it is October 1 million, by which he's trying to say any day of the year, any time, everything we do is justified. So the attacks on October 7th, where they massacred over 1,000 civilians, kidnapped people, where they burned, raped, and did all of these things, all of it is justified. And he says we will be doing it again and again. This is Hamas.
10 أكتوبر في مليون أكتوبر إحنا اللي بنعمل مبرر. It is justified. مبررة.
He even says it in English again for everyone to understand. It is justified. That's it. This is what Hamas has to say. You see it right here. This is not propaganda. This is not Zionist propaganda. This is not anti-Palestine propaganda. This is not any of these things. This is Hamas themselves saying very clearly that they will do this again and again and again, and that everything they do is justified because Israel has no right to exist, and they will continue sacrificing their own population until Israel no longer exists. That's what they say. That's what Hamas tells you directly. And then people go around saying Israel should stop bombing, Israel should do a ceasefire. These guys are basically admitting it to you directly. Even if there's a ceasefire, they will simply use this opportunity to gather their strength and prepare for the next attack. It will go on. It will continue like this forever. The easiest thing you can do right now is to say, no, people are dying. That's very sad. Let's do ceasefire. Great, thank you. By doing a ceasefire, you are only prolonging the suffering. You're only prolonging the fighting, only prolonging the very thing that you think should end. By asking for a ceasefire, if Israel agreed to a ceasefire today and stopped fighting, stopped responding, they would simply wait for the next opportunity to attack civilians and to attack Israel again, and we would again have the very same things that we are experiencing today. It is myopic, it is short-sighted, it is illogical, it is stupid, simply put, to ask for a ceasefire now. Israel is on a mission, and that mission is to finish Hamas, to end Hamas. And they made it very clear from the beginning to the end. They said, we have no intention of occupying the land. We have no interest in it. We want the population to temporarily go south, and whereafter they can reach their homes again. I'm not sure if they can actually I'm not sure if things will actually work out that way, but that is what they said. That reminds me that there is a document which is being circulated where Israel allegedly declared their plan to ethnically cleanse Gaza, which is not really true. If somebody has a link to that, I think it was on WikiLeaks. I didn't think about that before, but I might get into that as well, because that's not remotely what people think it is. Anyway, when I posted about this this clip from Hamas, a follower responded to me with a video from Mahmoud Abbas from the Palestinian Authority. He also has a few words to say about Hamas. He also sees, unlike the rest of the world, unlike much of the world, that Hamas is the problem here. Listen to this. This guy is not Hamas. He's the Palestinian Authority ruling over the West Bank, supposedly the peaceful guy. He blasts Hamas here, saying that Hamas is basically asking for this destruction here. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas on October 13th. He says, when the Israeli aggression took place, Hamas leaders in Gaza and abroad said, we don't care if Gaza is erased. They do not care if Gaza is erased. All they care about is that the Hamas movement continues to exist. They said this, Hania and Mashal, two Hamas leaders, representatives. They said, we don't care what happens. Mashal went even further and said, what is happening in Gaza is insignificant and does not affect us. This is not some Hamas. This is not some Zionist or somebody else saying this. This is Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, saying this. It does not affect us. Then they said that the Hamas movement is alive and well. This was at a time when there were thousands of martyrs from among our people, he says. Thousands of wounded from among our people. Tens of thousands of destroyed homes. To this day, 100,000 Palestinians in Gaza are homeless with no place to live, he says. But the Hamas movement is alive and well. Look, he's exactly saying what I just said and what many others are saying when they talk about the corruption or the evils of Hamas. He's exactly saying that the people in Gaza are suffering and that Hamas doesn't care. They don't care about any of this. They just care about continuing to fight for their own movement and their own ideals. And they are ready to sacrifice the population of Gaza. This is what this guy is saying, what Mahmoud Abbas is saying. The Hamas movement was hiding under the domes. This is what Israel is also saying, and what Mahmoud Abbas is saying here. The Hamas leaders, and I say this for the first time, fled to the Sinai desert in ambulances. They left their people behind to be slaughtered. And then they say we put up a resistance. This is what he says. Oh, this was from a long time ago, which makes no difference to the point. The point is that this is what he himself, what Mahmoud Abbas himself said, and what he thinks about Hamas. Would it change? Would Hamas change over time? No. This is his position on the whole issue of Hamas control over Gaza. He says that Hamas is in charge of Gaza and they don't care about Gazans. They just care about themselves. They sacrifice their own people. They do whatever they want. And then they hide under domes in civilian buildings. This is what he says. That's also what Israel says, and what the US says, and what intelligence says. But they are accused of just, making up excuses to kill civilians and all that. And I want to point out one thing. Of course, Mahmoud Abbas here, who is the Palestinian Authority president, is pointing these things out. But that's not because he cares so much about the people. It's not because he has so much compassion and because he thinks this is all the fault of Hamas. He is saying these things because Hamas are his rivals. So he's not necessarily the good guy here. He's simply just saying that Hamas is doing these terrible things and killing their own population, basically, by proxy, and that he himself and his organization should be in charge. The Palestinian authorities know better. They are just as corrupt. They are not hardcore, hardline Islamists. They're supposed to be the secular ones, but they're also corrupt. They also abduct their own population. It is known they take people who they are suspicious of and torture them to see if they are informants, to see if they are opponents, to see if they are undercover, Hamas operatives and so on. It's all a giant mess. But this is the Palestinian leaders, the Palestinian authorities, the Palestinian politicians, the Palestinian movements. This is what they do. You can't rely on Israel to somehow fix the situation. It is corrupt from the very core. This guy, Richie Torres, I don't really know who this guy is, but he said something, or he's a congressman. He said this: a humanitarian response to the plight of Palestinians in Gaza is morally necessary, but there is nothing remotely humanitarian about keeping Hamas in power. A ceasefire is an open invitation for Hamas to rearm itself and launch a deadlier terror attack. A ceasefire is not a peace agreement. It is a death sentence for Israelis. And this is as accurate and as clear as it gets. Right now, it is very easy, very emotional to ask for a ceasefire. A ceasefire will never solve the problem. A ceasefire will just cause more problems. What people should hope for at this point is that Israel takes care of Hamas and Hamas is gone forever, and that Hamas surrenders. Why are there no rallies? Why are there no calls around the world for Hamas to give up all the hostages and to surrender? There are calls to give up hostages and to do a ceasefire. Actually, there aren't. I haven't seen any major rallies for that either. But why aren't there big rallies to ask Hamas to surrender? If they are the ones who say we will keep this going forever and ever and we will never stop, why is Israel supposed to be the side that is reasonable, that has great accountability, that never responds with violence and all of that? Why do people not ask Hamas? Yes, I know Hamas will not surrender. They will not stop. They make it clear that they will not stop. But hey, guess what? Israel will probably not stop with this operation either, no matter how much of the world protests. Because there's one thing that Israel realizes, which is that people around the world don't really care about the well-being of Israel and Israelis. There is a sentiment that Israel has, and that Israelis in general have, and it might look a little bit, since you are not in their shoes, it might be difficult to see, and it might look like Israel is careless about the opinions of the world, of the populations and all of that. But Israel has this point of view, which, if you think about it, is not very unjustifiable. It is that we are the only country that is our, this is the only country that is our country, that is a Jewish country, that is a country where Jewish people are at home, where they belong. And we are the only people who ultimately care about our own survival, about our own existence. Half the world hates us. They want to get rid of us. And yes, that's true. The Muslim world, the Islamic world hates Israel and wants to get rid of them and believes in eventually getting rid of them. And the other part of the world we just can't trust, which is why we built Israel. We are happy to collaborate with people, but ultimately we can't listen to what the world says because nobody really cares about our existence except us. And we have to fight, and we have to take care of those who want to terrorize us. That is the Israeli mindset. This is the Israeli mindset. And you might say, well, that's so selfish. Well, it is selfish. Everybody is selfish. Everybody has to be selfish to a certain degree. Palestinians are being selfish right now. Muslims are being selfish right now when they don't want to take refugees and want to rather care about the significance of the land that those Palestinians are living on. They don't want to take refugees right now. I mean, Egypt and other Muslim nations, they tell each other not to take Palestinian refugees for a very simple reason, and a very callous reason, a reason that is so much not about compassion. The reason that they don't want to take Palestinian refugees is, hey, if we take them away and save their lives, then maybe they will never be able to go back there, and they will lose their land, and Israel will take it over and occupy it. That's their concern. That's the main concern there. And they won't give those people, citizenship status. They don't want to do that either. They would treat them as refugees forever, for eternity, because they think the land is holy. It means something to us Muslims. It means something to us Arabs. It should be us forever, all of it, which is why, sorry, but we can't take the refugees. We can't take these people. We can't save their lives. This is how the Muslim world thinks. This is how the Arab world thinks. And this is not what I'm saying. This is what they say to each other and what they say publicly all the time. They don't care about the lives. They care about the values. And Israel, in their position in this entire conflict, they care about their own existence, because they are very well aware that the rest of the world does not fundamentally care about their existence. If nobody cares, and if they can't trust the world, if they can't trust the Muslim nations and Arab nations that try to dominate and occupy the United Nations, then they themselves have to take care of their own right to exist. And they can't just, after experiencing the worst attack against their own population, say, oh, you know what, the world demands a ceasefire, so, why don't we just do a ceasefire? They know better than every single person who is out there protesting that this would be a death sentence for Israel in the end. They are not going to do it. And they have every right to go to the end with the operation that they are in right now. Sorry to say. That's it. This is war. This is war. If the Palestinian side didn't want war, this wouldn't happen. If Hamas didn't want war, this wouldn't happen. If the Palestinian Authority didn't want a conflict, this wouldn't happen. There were plenty of opportunities in 2000, in 2005, in 2006, in the 90s, in the 80s, in the 70s. They never took the chance, because they keep believing that they must somehow overcome Israel and take the land and go back to how things were before the 1948 partition, or 1947 partition, and before the 1967 war, which they all provoked and lost. Israel confirms the second Jabalia blast was the result of an airstrike. Yes, there were airstrikes that affected a refugee camp, and lots of people died. Israel said, yes, we take responsibility. It was a result of airstrikes. And yes, we are targeting Hamas commanders. And yes, we are taking them out, is what they're saying. Do I find this pretty and great and amusing? No. I find this pretty bad. And I'm not sure if there's a better way to conduct these airstrikes. But do I condemn them for this? No, I don't. I'm sorry, but that is long gone. That's the responsibility of the United Nations, which never took the right steps, of Hamas, which is in charge of the population of Gaza, and so on. And clearly, we have just seen it. They don't care. I played it earlier, and I commented on it. I want to play it one more time without any commentary, just for everyone to listen or to read. Here is the Hamas spokesperson saying that they will continue terrorizing Israel forever, and that they are proud to sacrifice their own population.
إسرائيل دولة لا مقام لها على أرضنا. إحنا هذه الدولة لابد أن نزيلها، لأنه بالفعل هي تعتبر كارثة أمنية وعسكرية وسياسية للأمة العربية والإسلامية، يجب أن تنتهي. لذلك إحنا لا نخجل من نقول ذلك بكل قوة. انه إسرائيل لازم نأدبها، وحنأدبها مرة ثانية وثالثة، ومش هذا حتكون طوفان الأقصى أول مرة، لا حتكون ثاني وثالث ورابعة، لأنه إحنا لدينا إصرار ولدينا قرار ولدينا إمكانيات أن نقاتل نعم. وأن نحارب، لكن كما قلت لك بدنا ندفع ثمن. نعم إحنا مستعدين، معلش بدي أقول لك بشكل واضح، إحنا اسمنا شعب الشهداء وبنفخر أن نقدم شهداء. إحنا لا نريد أن نمس لا بالمدنيين ولا أن نلحق الأذى بهم، لكن أوقات لأنه في تعقيدات في الميدان صارت في منطقة موجودة، وكان هناك في احتفال وكان في سكان وفي منطقة واسعة ليست سهلة على امتداد تقريبا 40 كيلومتر. يجب أن ننتهي.
أن ينتهي وين؟
بس بقطاع غزة؟ ينتهي إلى لا بتكلم عنه كل الأراضي الفلسطينية،
كل الأراضي الفلسطينية، يعني
طبعًا.
زوال إسرائيل؟
طبعا وجود إسرائيل غير منطقي. وجود إسرائيل هو اللي بخلق كل هذه الآلام والعذابات والدموع والدماء. هي إسرائيل مش إحنا ضحية الاحتلال، نقطة وآخر السطر. لذلك ما حدا يلومنا، إحنا شو اللي بنعمله في 7 أكتوبر، في 10 أكتوبر، في مليون أكتوبر، إحنا اللي بنعمل مبرر. It is justified، مبررة.
This is Hamas. They say, we know that our population is dying, we know that people are being killed, but we are proud of that, and we will continue fighting and terrorize until Israel no longer exists. She asks explicitly, does that include the annihilation of Israel? He says, of course. Israel has no right to exist. Israel's existence is illogical. We have to get rid of it, and everything we do is justified. That's what this guy says. But hey, let's pay attention to, what Israel may think and what their ulterior motives might be and all of that, when these guys are telling it to you in your face. Ari Osman said, I don't care what the KGB media, Muslims, Marxists, Twitter Nazis, Schmucker Tarlson, isolationists, Christian anti-Semites, and fake conservatives like Candy-ass Owens say. We Jews are in the fight of our lives. Thank you, my prophet, for your support. There you have it. Plain and simple. I agree with it. And thank you, Ari Osman, for being here and continuing to amplify the voices. I agree with it. The world doesn't care, and you see this again and again. The world doesn't care, and the last few weeks, the protests around the world, the attacks on Jews around the world, and the indifference of so many people to these attacks, the leftists in the world siding with Muslims, and even now right-wing conspiracy theorists siding with Muslims and saying Israel shouldn't exist, it should have no right to exist. It just proves over and over again why the entire Zionist idea of Theodor Herzl of creating a state where they can exist without fearing persecution, without fearing pogroms, without fearing genocides again and again, is absolutely necessary. It is necessary because if they don't have a state where they can freely live, there will be again and again the danger of being removed. Like so many times in Europe, so many times in the Muslim world, like in Nazi Germany, and so on. And if you don't agree with it, then don't expect Israel to care about your opinion. Seriously. Cascadia made a super sticker which says thank you, Cascadia. I appreciate it very, very much. Thank you. Nathaniel Robinson said, have you seen UC Regent J. Sear's response to ethnic studies professor who insisted Hamas should not be called terrorist? I did not see that at all. What is that? UC Regent J. Sears. I didn't see that. I don't have a direct link to it. I didn't come across it. Let me see. Oh, it's a text. It's a very long text. I don't want to read the text. I don't want to read it on screen. It's also low resolution. You mean this? I bet. This? It's even hard to read. What is this low resolution, man? Let's see. Oh, that is a better one. Here. This is too long. I'm going to lose half the people who are watching if I start reading this. But I can share it. Interesting. I'll have a look at it. I haven't seen it. I haven't checked it out.
Efforts to pass
veto standalone funding. Al Jazeera, the terrorist sympathizers. Let's see what they say. The terrorist sympathizers say Reds. People are dying. We know war has a heavy price. We know. With all of them. Look at this. Look at this. Al Jazeera, the terrorist sympathizing news outlet here, is immediately running this as an update and highlighting it, saying, speaking at a news conference, Yoav Gallant said Israel's operations in Gaza were moving forward with thousands of targets destroyed. War has a heavy price. These are all our sons, he added, according to Israeli army radio. He spoke shortly after Israel's military identified 16 soldiers killed on Tuesday. I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure that they didn't cover anything that Hamas said, as I showed you earlier, in which they clearly say that they are ready to sacrifice their own population, their civilians. That's Al Jazeera for you. Iran's Khamenei urges Muslim countries to boycott Israel. And Muslims around the world are joining, by the way, by doing dumb stuff like boycotting Starbucks, which has nothing to do with Israel at all. Did you know that Starbucks doesn't even operate in Israel? There is no Starbucks in Israel. Actually, I don't know if it changed by now, but I think there is no Starbucks in Israel anymore. They don't operate there unless it was picked up at some point by a franchise. But let's see. Starbucks Israel was a coffee chain in Israel opening in 2001 with 6 locations in Tel Aviv before closing in 2003. Okay, no, this is the chain. I think they ceased operations under a different network in Israel in 2014 because of difficulties in operations and all of that. So they are not even active in Israel. They're not even supporting Israel. They have nothing to do with Israel. But people are protesting and boycotting Starbucks right now because they issued a statement in which they condemned terrorism and condemned the killing of civilians on October 7th. That's why people are protesting Starbucks. And half the people who are protesting probably don't even know why they are protesting. Ridiculous. It's a clown world. Raisin Bread said, Queen Rania recently in an interview on CNN with Christiane Amanpour said lies about how Israel is on the wrong and played a victimhood card for Palestinians. I didn't see that, but she is from Jordan. I don't know what she said, but yeah, I mean that's the regular, that's the usual message that they put out. The White Trash Panda just became a YouTube member. Welcome to the club. Thank you and welcome. For those who missed it, I highlighted this yesterday. I'm seeing now that the stream from yesterday is being watched by lots of people, so a lot of people are getting aware of it. And actually, a news source, Visegrad, picked it up from me after I put this on here. But for those who missed it, the Palestinian Authority, which is supposed to be the peaceful, non-Islamist side, published a letter in which they instructed their mosques to read out a hadith, the one hadith, the prophecy by Muhammad, according to which the Muslims will fight and kill the Jews. It needs to be highlighted again and again. The text says, Muhammad said, or he said, the hour will not be established until the Muslims fight the Jews, so the Jews will hide behind stones and trees. And the stone or the tree will say, O Muslim, O servant of Allah, there is a Jew behind me, come and kill him, except for the Karkat tree, for it is the tree of the Jews. This was preached to Muslim audiences. under the rule of the Palestinian Authority on October 20th. And the press didn't pick it up. People didn't pay attention. People just say Hamas is, Hamas are the extreme ones. They are the Islamists. But this was preached in the regular secular Palestinian territories. But hey, it's all Israel's fault. This is what's called a self-fulfilling prophecy, which is under Muslims, Muslims keep vilifying and saying, Israel is, Jews are bad, they are evil, they are violent, they hate us, they want to kill us, and this and that. And they believe in that. Because of that, they put up a conflict with the Jews, with the only Jewish state. And when the only Jewish state then reacts to them, to their violence with violence, they're like, you see, this proves that we were right. This proves that we were right, that Jews are indeed, hateful and violent and this and that. That's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You caused the very thing that you claimed was going to happen. It's incredible that people refuse to see that. Incredible. Babushka said Hindus have been fighting this menace and tried to warn us for many years. Long live India, from the Adirondack Mountains in New York. Thank you. Joanne B said, sharing love and support. Thank you, Joanne. Like you said yesterday, it's frightening and shocking how people are reacting to this. Most of the world are idolizing barbaric terrorists. Take care and stay safe. I know, the thing is, we are currently seeing the dangers of social media, right? Of platforms like Twitter and TikTok, for example. Somebody was pointing it out how the TikTok algorithms, the Twitter algorithms, they are so much favoring conspiracy theorists and people who are just anti-Zionist right now and who are supporting the Hamas cause. And the average person out there doesn't really research. The average person out there doesn't sit down and read, doesn't sit down and study the history, doesn't think things through, doesn't really care much about the facts of the matter. So the average person just goes with whatever seems reasonable or, emotionally appealing or cool or in fashion or whatever it is to them, or whatever aligns with their own beliefs at the moment. So when on TikTok, the Muslim voices and the pro-Palestine, the pro-Hamas voices are amplified, then this spreads as the new trend. And then you soon start seeing non-Muslim people, non-Palestinian people who have nothing to do with this conflict, people who never even heard about this conflict. They then start posting supportive messages for the Palestinian side, and they start getting engagements, which then fuels more and more support. Because somebody who never bothered about Israel or Palestine, for their entire life, can now jump into the trend and say, oh yeah, Palestinians, they're being treated so badly. If Israel just stopped this occupation, stop Israel, free Palestine. If you do that, and you then suddenly get a lot of support on TikTok, for example, which is what happens, then that will just psychologically motivate the person who put that out to add to it and to continue doing that, to put something new out there and say, oh yeah, yesterday I heard this and this happened as a result of Israeli airstrikes. I feel so bad. Free Palestine. How can you not support Palestine right now? That again is rewarded. And that's how it goes. That's how it goes. If people get the sympathy and the reward for saying these things that they'd never even thought about, then they will continue doing that. And that's how the algorithm, and then similar things are suggested to you and to everyone else. That's how the algorithm and how social media popularity is really muddying and completely destroying any kind of nuance that should be out there in times like these. It's sad. It's messed up. And then people say, look, we are winning over people's opinions. So many people say free Palestine now. What they don't realize is that lots of people might agree with them, but it doesn't really mean much in the real world, because in the real world, Israel is taking care of Hamas right now and going through with what they said would happen if such an attack happened. The best thing you can hope for is that the operation is finished as soon as possible. Human Kirk said, thanks for these streams, not after our midnight. I'm going to do another live stream later just so that you can't watch it. No, thank you for being here. Rachel S. said, what do you think happens once Hamas is gone? Thanks. Hard to tell. Hard to tell. I'm not even sure if Israel can really effectively get rid of all of Hamas. I mean, that's their goal right now. They say we want to put a complete end to this. And their stated goal, I believe, is for the time being that they would put a different authority in charge. They said they have no intention of giving control over Gaza to the Palestinian Authority because they don't trust it. They did that last time, and that's how they lost control and Hamas took over. So they want to put a different authority, a different governing body in place of Hamas, and see where it goes from there. I don't know. It's very hard to tell what's going to happen. It's not like Israel hasn't tried different things. They tried so many different methods. They tried letting them exist alongside. They tried taking over and occupying it. They tried giving it away to Egypt and Jordan. They tried having it exist as a self-governing body with restrictions until they agreed to make peace. These are all the options that were tried. Nothing worked so far. Not sure what's going to happen now. Rachel S. again said, thank you for actually speaking the truth about the Israeli position. You are actually a moral person, and it makes me somewhat hopeful. Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate that. I appreciate. I just say how I see it, and thank you. Sanku said, Israel would be stupid to listen to Westerners who've become overly emotional and utterly delusional about the world, who think war is Call of Duty. That's the thing. In the West, people don't really understand what they're dealing with when we talk about this conflict. Israel knows very well what they're dealing with because they deal with this all the time. They deal with death and destruction, with dead bodies, with the danger of being exterminated all the time. They deal with fighting, with killing and getting killed all the time. Most of this stuff is just a dream to people in the West who see stuff like this only on TV or in video games, or read books about it, or hear it on the news. In the West, people are so separated from the realities of death. I mean, even slaughter of animals is like done in places where you don't see it, where you're not exposed to it. In other parts of the world, it's not quite like that. In other parts of the world, people are directly exposed to blood, to violence, to all of these things. They understand the realities of the world. They understand further how to actually deal with it and the consequences of just saying, oh, let's just make peace, let's just do ceasefire. It does not work. Ari Wasserman said, the propaganda is so ingrained in the West that even good pro-Israel conservative outlets have been unthinkingly normalizing the word Palestine, which is as real as Andrew Tate's grasp of decency, morality, and monogamy. True. There is a nuance about the whole Palestine term, which is, so to be very fair about it, the very first, the people who founded Israel, and the people who are respected as the founders of Israel, Ben-Gurion and the others, they did talk about the name Palestine when they were founding the Israeli state. And they were debating what they should name this new Jewish state. I actually have an excerpt of that document that I posted on Twitter some time ago, which I could use to talk about this with more precision. Give me 1 second. So they were talking about, they were discussing what they should name their new Jewish state. People keep saying, why are you stuttering?
Why stuttering?
What they should name their new Jewish state. And some of the options were Israel, Zion, Judea. And there was also actually the option of naming it Palestine. And they did acknowledge that there could be an Arab state, which could be named Palestine, but that does not mean that they acknowledge that Palestine is an Arab thing. What they meant by that is they could use the name of the region that they live in. So here is this is from an article which goes through some of the documents which were obtained from the founding times of Israel. It says when they're thinking about what they should name it, the document mentions three options: Palestine or Philistine, Zion or Sayun, and Israel or Israel. Israel in Arabic. The three officials, who included Beker Shalom Shetrit, later a prominent cabinet minister, were working under two assumptions: that an Arab state was about to be established alongside the Jewish one. Look, this is a very big contrast. If you want to analyze this whole thing from a moral point of view, there is a very big contrast here. The guys who are discussing the founding of their own state and the naming of it, the Zionists who are setting up their Israeli state in 1948, they are actively concerned with the fact that the Arabs will also want to establish their own state alongside them, and they are acknowledging this, and they are taking that into consideration, right? Meanwhile, the Arab side had no tolerance at all for the idea that a Jewish state would be established. That was an impossibility for them. They wanted to prevent that at all costs, which is why they declared a war on Israel with the intention of destroying it as soon as it was announced. There is the difference here. That an Arab state was about to be established alongside the Jewish one, in keeping with the UN's partition resolution the year before, and that the Jewish state would include a large Arab minority whose feelings needed to be taken into account. They rejected the name Palestine, they wrote, because they thought that would be the name of the new Arab state. So they thought that would be the name of a new Arab state. So maybe the Arabs would form their own state and they would name it after what the British call this region and what they have been calling this region. Because the Arab people weren't calling themselves Palestinians before any of this. They started using the term Palestine only when the British mandate came in and called it Palestine and ruled it as Palestine. They started adopting that as a name for this region. And the Zionists thought it is possible that the Arabs will call it Palestine, Philistine, because that's what they have been doing in the other places under British control. They gave the lands the names under which they were historically known, or under which they were known to some people, like the Western people. It is likely that the Arab state that will be established in the land of Israel will also be called Palestine in the future, which could cause confusion, the officials wrote. They rejected the name Zion or Sayun, seemingly because the words Zion and Zionist already had a pejorative meaning in the Arab world. Calling the country Zion would cause real difficulty for the Arab citizen in the Jewish state, the document says. In the end, they opted for the most straightforward option, Israel or Israel. So according to this document, the earliest the Zionist Israeli founders, they took all of this into consideration, and they took the feelings of their own Arab populations into consideration. And according to all of this, then chose Israel. But they acknowledged back then that Arabs might establish a state and call it Palestine. So it is not completely a much later invention. However, actually creating a Palestinian state is an invention that only appeared slowly after the 60s and only firmly in the 1980s. Before that, there was no collective Arab aim of creating a Palestinian state. They had no idea what to do with it. And Jordan wanted it as their own land, and Egypt wanted it as their own subject. They could never agree on what to exactly do. All they did agree on, they all had one thing that they could agree on, which is, we don't want Jews here. We don't want Jews to have a state here. That's it. Realities that we need to talk about and that nobody is talking about. realities. Yeah. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah. Oh yes, Ari Osman. Thank you. But hey, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for being here. That's how I get carried away, diving into learning about stuff, and I love it. The Wolfie said, "Are you going to review the Jordan Peterson Piers Morgan interview about Israel? The comments on that video are insane." I saw that they did that. Let's see, how long is that? How long is it? Jordan Peterson and Piers Morgan. Let us see how long it is. Let us see what it is. An hour? Why does he talk to everybody for like 10, 20 minutes, and then he talks to Jordan Peterson for 1 hour? I might review that at some other point. I might review that together with David. I might do something like that, but it's probably worth looking into. Probably. Can't do that right now, though. But hey, yes, I might do that. Matthew Velasquez said, Ari Wasserman, thank you for bringing up the issue of normalizing the use of the word Palestine incorrectly by Western media. Yeah, that's basically what we just went through. But it is true. It is true. There is no Palestine. There is no one Palestine. There is no Palestinian land. There never was a Palestinian land before Israel. Israel didn't steal Palestinian land. There was no such thing. That was invented much later. Before Israel was established, it was the British Mandate of Palestine. That was the only thing that was called Palestine. And it was what they named the land. It wasn't the land of the name itself. Then Israel was built. The Arabs rejected it. They didn't know what to do with it. Much later, after Israel, they began calling it Palestine. And now you have these stupid graphs which go around, or these stupid maps which go around, which say, look, they stole the Palestinian land. Palestine was once this big, big place, and now it is no more. It's not how it works. There never was such a land called Palestine. Never was such a thing. But hey, I talked about that before. Munesh Terriblade said, Jews have been mostly fighting to survive. True. True and very true. Ari Wasserman said again, anybody on this live complaining about Jews being in this situation because they are not Christians is missing the point, to put it mildly, and should learn it little Christian courtesy. Christine Live, hey, thank you so much. I appreciate this. Appreciate it. Said, my husband and I watched your video on the origin of the Israel-Palestine conflict. It was outstanding. I'm a huge supporter of your work. Takes a lot of courage to go up against these maniacs. I know you're still in the process of finding God. I believe he will find you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And thank you so much for your support and your help with the channel. I really, truly do appreciate that. And I hope we can spread more truth and inform people. But yeah, I actually made a whole video about the whole history of the conflict that I made a long time ago. Let's see, when was that? It's a long time ago. Here it is. When did I do that? December 2018. Whoa, that was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I made a long video. It's not that long. It's actually just 25 minutes long, in which I explained the Israel-Palestine conflict. The thing is, when I go back nowadays and review this, there is so much that I feel like I could have added, that I should have said, so much that I thought about later on. So if I went back and did this whole thing again, it would be significantly better, I would think. You know what? Maybe I should hire. I should organize a project and pay some people to create a better version of this, like a documentary. That would be nice. That would be nice. Should I do that? If I want to do that, I need some help for that. I need the funds. I need stuff like that. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. I'll I don't want to say I'll get back to it, because when I say I'll get back to it with my severe ADHD, it just goes into the space where all of the millions of ideas are floating. Okay, good idea. Good idea. Hey, thank you so much, Christine. I appreciate it very, very much. Lucid said, Muslims, can we please put you down without a fight? Jews, no. Muslim, no. Okay, I need to read this properly. Muslims say, can we please put you down without a fight? Jews say, no. Muslims say, Zionism, genocide, Islamophobia. P.S. Have you seen Nabi Asli vids? I think you would like. I've seen only a few of them. I need to look into them more. I think I'm following the channel, though. All right. TP Bear said, please message me on Discord. I would like to set up a TikTok live stream with you and God Logic when you're available. I shall do so. I shall do so. You have me on Discord, don't you? I'll check. TP Bear. I'll check. Cascadia said, Israel made many concessions over the decades. Hamas never wanted peace, never wanted a resolution. Instead, they aspired to turn children into suicide bombers. Yes. I said it back then, I say it now, I'll say it again and again. Prove me wrong. If the Palestinian side wanted peace and wanted an end to the conflict and wanted recognition, they could have done that over and over and over again. They had so many chances, they didn't do it. They chose not to do it. Prominently, Yasser Arafat was given the option to finally come to a peace agreement, but he walked out. He walked out because he didn't get everything he wanted. Akin Abgunay said, fun fact, Islam and Judaism are not that different when you dive deep. I think they're actually... well, obviously, Islam has quite some influence from Judaism because Muhammad took most of his ideas on Islam from the Jewish people in Medina, and he stole from whatever, he stole the ideas of the Jews there and believed whatever they say. And it looks like at some point they started making up things just to mess with him, and he just believed them. So necessarily there is a lot that they have in common. But that said, Islam is based on Arab polytheism, with adopting Jewish ideas and values and some Christian ideas and values later on. But the fundamentals of it are just, the basis of it is just very, very pagan. That's it. And he's just stole things from the Jews and Christians without understanding what they are. Yeah. Human Kirk said, irony of Arab Palestine, there is no P in Arabic, they can't even pronounce it. Yeah, yeah. Well, okay, there is a thing. Some people call it like some people did it with a P. So in history, it appears with a P and also with an F sound. And it would be funny if Arabs called it Palestine. That would sound interesting. So using the F sound is not necessarily wrong. But what is interesting about this is that the name Palestine is not anything that these people gave themselves or called themselves. It is a name that others called the people who settled there back then, of whom we have no trace at all, who were of Greek origins or who came from Greek places. And Greek-speaking and Latin-speaking people then later adopted that as a name for the whole region. And the Arab population only adopted that name for themselves in the 20th century. So basically, they give themselves a name that the Europeans gave to that region, and then claim, yeah, we are the Palestinians. What Palestinians? Yeah. It's like I go to it's like I find some land somewhere, and I say, I heard of some people who lived here, and they were called uh, the Palulus. So I'm going to call this land Palulun. And then later, over millennia, different people settle there and start living there, and they say, "Oh, so this is the land Palulu. We are actually the indigenous Paluluns." Doesn't make any sense. Lucid said, "Can Islam be rightly described as Arab supremacism?" I did make a video a long time ago where I basically said that Islam is kind of like it is Arab supremacy. Yeah, it is like Arab colonialism in a way, which is why there's so much Arab influence on whatever you need to do and whatever you do. A Happy Amigo said, "Hey, thank you so much to you too for the contribution and the help with the channel. Thank you so much. I really, truly appreciate that. And I will never forget this. And I will thank you for this for eternity." Said, "You're an essential voice to educate Muslims so that we can one day live in harmony with them. Right now, they seem to think it's some kind of sports game with Palestine as their mascot." That reminds me of what I just said a while ago about how Muslims react to a conflict when it happens in the region. It's not a genuine concern for people's lives. It's just like, yeah, just like an event, like a World Cup, like a sports thing that happens every now and then. They start then rooting for the Palestinian side. And once it's over, they just go on with their lives, while the Palestinians deal with the consequences of the very conflict which they fueled with their sentiments around the world. But hey, they don't have to worry about that. Let those people who are in the region and who are actually dying, let them worry about that, right? It's all really, really messed up. And yeah, I think the root cause of that is one of the root cause of this is Islam, I would say. It is, because it is an Islamic issue. It is, if you ask Muslims around the world, they will tell you that this is a Muslim issue. They will tell you that this is about Islam, that Muslims have an Islamic religious duty to stand with and support the people there, support the Palestinians. This is what they say. And then you have idiots, secular idiots in the West saying, "Oh, no. This has nothing to do with religion at all." I'm sorry, but you don't speak for anybody. But hey, thank you so much. I appreciate that. The White Trash Panda said, Felix and my TV said, "Is there an official Palestinian language? Seems like they are Arabic speakers, and unlike the Palestinians, at least the Jews have a language based on historical roots of the land. Bangladeshis can relate." Yeah, there is no such thing as a Palestinian language. So the Palestinian people, as said, they were a seafaring people that came from the western parts. They were of Greek origins, came from Greek lands, as it is thought, and settled in the region, which is nowadays Gaza, that small place, which is why at some point people started referring to that place as Philistine or whatever it is. And then Herodotus, he referred to a greater place as Philistine. And then later the Romans are the ones who basically built the foundation of calling the whole thing Palestine. And that's where it came from. It's not, there is no such population. Those people that were referred to by that name, they're long gone. They mixed into, were assimilated, or were, like destroyed with like other populations. Yeah, long story. We can go into this forever and ever and ever. But yeah, they are basically very much Arabs, which Hamas themselves would admit if you asked them. And they did. Sanke said, Wikipedia's famous Palestinians list is 80% Jews. Yeah. All right, I'm going to go. Don't want to make this too long. But hey, I'm always happy to be here and always happy to have live streams and to go through things once again. One more time for all those who missed it, I showed the video earlier, but here's a summary. the Hamas spokesperson who has a face that just looks like it would be the face of evil if there was such a thing. He says on October 7th, October 10th, October 1 million, everything we do is justified. We are called a nation of martyrs. We are proud to sacrifice martyrs. So he says we are proud to kill our own people, to have our own people killed for our fighting.
We're proud of that.
And we are proud to sacrifice martyrs. The existence of Israel is what causes all the pain, blood, and tears. We must remove that country. This is a very short summary of what this guy said, which I showed earlier in the stream. Watch it, see what Hamas actually says, see how they view the suffering and the dead people in their own under their own control. They don't care about the lives. They care about conflict. They want to fuel conflict. They want to continue fueling conflict, and the conflict will not stop if Israel agrees to a ceasefire. Hamas will only come back and attack again, and it will go on again. Israel has to finish the task and end Hamas once and for all, and I hope they will do that. Bad Boy said, AB, do you think this guy will survive? I hope not. I don't know. Can I say that? I think I can. This guy's a terrorist. I hope he doesn't survive. I hope he doesn't make it out of there. Because this guy is saying that he's ready to sacrifice thousands, millions, and he is okay with killing the Zionists. And the Zionists, that Israel has no right to exist. And everything is justified. So no, I hope this guy doesn't survive. I hope they get rid of this guy and all those leaders and spokespeople who are like this guy. Like, why is he here? Why is he in Lebanon speaking when his own people are down there in tunnels like rats? Or otherwise, the civilian population is being sacrificed by Hamas. All right. I'll be gone. Everybody, have a fantastic day.
I don't buy your Ella.
Yeah. And as always, I just have to use that. It's like I put money into it for a reason. Have a fantastic day. And as always, Rachel said, did you see the uncensored interview with Israel president on BBC? Actually censored it. I didn't see it. I'll have to check it out. Thanks, everyone. Have a fantastic day. And as always, as my friend likes to say,
stay away from Islam.